Well, I guess it's my turn this time.
Sharks fans, welcome to Pucknology After Dark. We're still waiting on Eric here, but this is a extra special, unplanned edition. Originally, we were not going to do this, but in light of the Sharks losing, I believe it's now 5 out of 6.
Yep.
It's called for. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of venting that needs to happen. This is a very frustrating team to watch, even more frustrating, I think, than our usual team in teal. So I think we're going to start, first of all, with thoughts on the game here. I'll let AJ go because I'm still trying to get Eric in the fold here, but AJ, if you want to just take it for a minute here and give your thoughts, like what did you see out there? What do you... And, I saw two things. I saw the Sharks' subpar effort, and I saw some really shitty reffing. But I'll let you dive in. Go for it, man.
Well, for me, just to start it off, before we totally dive into the game, obviously big props to Nabby and the Sharks organization for the retirement ceremony today, both the noon press conference and then of course the ceremonial puck drop. Big kudos to NBC to actually the fact that this is a national game, and when I heard that it was a national game and it was going to be Nabby, I was worried NBC wouldn't televise it. So kudos to NBC for actually televising that, letting all the fans see it. Even though apparently there were a lot of tickets available for tonight's game, more than there have been in quite some time. So getting on to the game, yeah, you can't talk about this game without mentioning the officiating. I mean, there was the Thornton high stick early in the game that went uncalled, and yeah, okay, well, but we see those a lot. Guy gets stick, there's no call. The Mueller screen interference, pick play, whatever you want to call it, that I thought was a little ridiculous. Something like that happens, maybe that's one of those things that they'll look at in the off season, and maybe that they leave that as kind of a official's discretion on whether they waive that off, just like it would be interference with a goaltender or something. But you hate to see that. I mean, that was just god awful. But the Sharks clawed their way back into it, and then the Hannon trip in the neutral zone in overtime. I'll be honest, there's a lot of, I see on Twitter, there's a few people saying that it was a straight-up trip. There's other people going, I didn't see it. For my personal opinion, I looked at the replay. I wouldn't have called it a trip, maybe a hook. All I know is that from my point of view watching it, Hannon appeared to feel the stick on his side or wherever he felt it, and I felt like Hannon kind of went down a little easy. Watched it on replay a few times. Either way, though, considering the way the game had gone to that point officiating-wise, I would have assumed that the officials maybe give the Sharks the benefit of the doubt in that situation, but alas, it was not to be. However, though, I do see a couple other gentlemen on the line coming live to you from a vehicle.
Yes, welcome from my vehicle.
We are live from the scene of the crime that was SAP Center.
Yeah, it was. I know I just joined in, guys, and good evening to you. Thank you for doing this at last minute.
Just real quick, guys, can you speak up a little bit because you're a little bit faint?
Absolutely. How's that? Is that better?
A bit better.
A bit better? All right, we'll do the best we can. We just joined in just now, so I don't know what you guys have covered, but the pick was pretty bad. I thought the linesman could have gotten out of the way a little bit easier. And AJ, you're right, because I called it a hook when I saw it happen, and it's like, and I try to be very, very unbiased. I try not to be a homer because I can't stand Jack Edwards on Bruins telecast. However, when it's that obvious that you are going against one team, and we already know the conspiracy theories of which teams NBC likes, after all, the Caps play in the quote-unquote NBC division, you have to start scratching your head as to what the hell did the Sharks do to deserve the BS calls they've had in 24 years? And now you look at a game which I thought the Sharks solidly had in them. I thought they had this game no problem whatsoever. And now you have to look at one point taken away from the Sharks, and especially a regulation overtime win, which we know is the first tiebreaker. That could decide home ice. It could decide if they cross over into the Central for a wild card matchup. It could decide whether they make the postseason or not. And that's the problem that I have with this. In this tight of a game, you are less than 2.5 weeks away from the trade deadline. This game was huge for both teams, and you're going to let poor officiating get in the way of that? I mean, come on. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that was my first thought after the game is like, bad call here, bad call there. It happens in hockey. I understand that. But it just seemed like it was over and over again where, I mean, some of those penalties on us were a little iffy. Like, some of those calls, I think, aren't always called. I wouldn't say they were 50-50, but they aren't always called. And there were multiple times I was like, why is there no call on the Capitals? It really just felt like it was kind of NBC taking over there. It was like, hey, this is NBC's team. I don't want to go all conspiracy theory, because honestly, the Sharks, in general, they don't deserve too much a benefit of a doubt right now, because they have been pathetic lately. They've, before this game, they lost 4 out of 5, so I don't think they deserve the benefit of the doubt too much. But I felt like, I think they did actually deserve to win this one. I think they played the better game.
And I think that their effort was great tonight. I thought after the Caps made it 4-3, Jumbo passed it to Annette. I mean, he scored. So, I mean, the effort was there. They were pushing. They didn't get into their funk like they usually do when things don't go their way. They kept back and clawed back their way to it.
Well, getting back to the conspiracy theory, I thought that kind of went out the window once Wilson became the GM. I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories talking about issues that whether it was Bettman or somebody else at the NHL, but I remember there being a lot of talk about how somebody had a problem with Dean Lombardi. Well, he's only gone on and won 2 cups, so I don't know how much water that kind of theory holds. As for the game, I did think the energy level was better. I thought for maybe about a good 5 minutes we actually had a sighting of Angry Joe, which we haven't seen in quite some time, and even Couture looked like he had a bit of a nasty streak tonight, which was nice to see. Those guys always seem to play better when they're a little ticked off. But I feel like they got a little deflated once they kept getting bad call after bad call, and maybe they were just at that point, might as well raise the white flag or something, or maybe not press as hard because who knows what the next call is going to be. But like I said, I don't want to blame this all on the calls. They fought back. It's just a shame to see the game end that way when there's such a long history of the Sharks being on the bad ends of bad calls. Hello, Tommy Wingles.
So,
and we quick
question for all of you. Go for it. Okay, so I have a question for both of you, and I think I've expressed my opinion here, but do you think the Sharks deserve to win this game? I would say yes. I think they were the better team overall. If you're just judging it purely on who you think played better, did they deserve to win this one? Did they deserve to come out with 1 point? Or did they deserve to lose? What do you think?
I thought they deserved to win. I thought they came out and got relentless. I mean, Brent Burns' 2 goals in 22 seconds at the beginning of the period was awesome. They needed something like that, and it's shown that they can do that. You know, there is that resiliency, there is that push, there is that drive. The drive is what Todd McClellan was talking about a few games ago about this team needing.
You know what? Compared to this game to Monday's game against Calgary, I saw a lot more push. I saw a lot more fight. I feel like they did deserve to win this game because other than the first period where they did outshoot us, and we did get down 1-0 in the first, we battled back into the second, but it was just bad bounces, bad luck, call it whatever you want, but they got down. But in the third, they answered back. There was that lull after that, that blown call, and after the pick from the ref where you just felt like, oh, God, here comes the Sharks. They're going to let this one slip through and kind of give up. But they kept with it. And, Joe Thornton tied it up and gave us a point out of this whole debacle. But, they definitely deserve to win this one. There was definitely much more of a push. There was much more of a sense of urgency in this one than there was against Calgary on Monday. It just kind of, I'm wondering what the response is going to be now on Friday against Arizona. So
Go AJ.
I could go either way. You watch part of this game and you feel like the Sharks should have this in hand, and then you watch it and then you say no, they're giving it away. There was Tennyson getting burned on bad coverage on the breakaway. There was leaving Ovechkin wide open in his happy place on the power play. I don't know how you let that happen. Special teams were, a little bit better. Were they perfect tonight on special teams?
Or 1 for 1, yeah.
Yeah, they're 1 for 1, but they let Ovi get into his happy place. And on the power play, they were 1 for 2, I want to say. So at least the power play is coming back. And I don't know, you take the 88 seconds or 22 seconds or the 22 seconds out of the equation. Burns had a couple of great shots. But one thing that was kind of ticking me off in overtime is the Sharks seem to be making a lot of effort or wasting a lot of effort trying to get the puck to Burns to get him the hat trick or something. And there seemed to be other plays that needed to be made, but they kept just trying to go up high to give it to Burns. That was a little maddening, and especially when you consider the situation. You don't want to keep putting the puck up high. The chances of a turnover with the way this team has played, it's not in your favor.
So, real quick, I'm kind of following the chat here online. L. Brian's comment agrees with a lot of us. It's not just us. I think the consensus among a lot of fans is they did play better this game. Maybe it was a 3-point game where they gave 1 point to Capitals, but I think we're mostly in agreement they should have won this game. And the power play penalty kill. I mean, the power play was better. It was AJ's favorite small sample size. The Washington Capitals, they're always dangerous in the power play. It's really hard to judge our PK off of that. I wasn't very happy with it, but again, the Capitals they've, much like the Sharks, they've always been one of the top-ranked power plays time after time after time. They're up there with the Red Wings as one of those power plays that are consistently very good at moving the puck.
Well, and speaking of chat, we do have a couple of questions, one of which is from Ken Hayakawa, who asks, with all this awesome talk on Naby, what do we think of Nemo and Stalock? Ken is clearly not an appointment watcher of Pucknology After Dark.
I've made should be and can be. Ken, we would love to have your viewership. Subscribe.
All right.
Below. Yep.
Subscribe down below. I've made my opinions of Nemo and Stalock loud and clear. I'm not a huge Nemo fan. I'm not a fan of his recovery time. Sometimes I think he overplays stuff. I would like to see Stalock get a look, especially if you look at what Stalock was able to do last year when he actually got more starts. I believe he was supposed to get more starts this season, but for some reason he's gotten less than last season. So how can you judge a guy and know what you have when you're actually starting him less? And then you also have, as Eric pointed out, the deadline's in just 2.5 weeks, and you've got a goalie who's your main guy, and you don't have him under contract for next season. This is it, and you haven't signed him. What are you going to let happen in the off season? So that remains to be seen. But long story short, I'm a big proponent of at least giving Stalock a healthy look.
So it's I'm actually kind of the one here with mixed feelings about the whole Miami Stalock thing. I know you're definitely a big proponent of Stalock in the future.
You're coming across real scratchy, real staticky.
Yeah, come on. Hopefully my internet can do better. The internet my company buys for me, so is that better, worse? No?
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's
So I was listening to Nabokov today on the radio. He actually managed to engage in quite a few interviews. You know, we'll definitely touch on Nabokov a bit more later because I think there's a lot of Navi love in this group. But one of the questions he was asked though by Tom Tolbert, actually no, it was by Ray Ratto. I'll give the bloated one credit here. Is a lot. There's a big trend these days towards the taller, larger goaltenders. You know, the guys who are, you know, not just 6 foot, but they're like 6'5". You know, me personally, I'm 6'1". I always thought I was a big person. Then I really started following professional sports, and I feel small. But Nabokov was kind of in agreement with the idea that the goaltender is becoming more and more a big man's game, and Nabokov is roughly the same size as Stalock, which, again, if Stalock can play like Nabokov, that would be awesome. But is it becoming a bigger man's game? Is Stalock going to be the future in the sense? Does he have the body to compete in you know what the NHL is becoming? I guess is the question I would ask. You're definitely the number one Stalock fan here, AJ. What would you think about that?
Like I said, I think it's a case of they haven't looked at him enough. Obviously, his injury when for those of you who don't remember, he did come up. He was the backup. They sent him down to get him some extra games, and he ended up getting a horrific injury, taking a skate across the back of the leg, and they thought he wasn't gonna. They weren't sure if he was going to walk again, much less play hockey. So the fact that, the Sharks stuck with him, stayed by his side the entire time, but the problem is that now that they've had him back, they don't want to give him an extended look for some reason. But I remember very vividly watching some games with him before the injury. And I had the same feeling watching him that I got when I watched Navi. Now, I'm not Warren Strelo. I don't know anything. It passed the eye test. For me, Stalock passed the eye test. And you go back to last season, the guy seemed to play a little more confidently in front of Stalock. Either way, the time has come to make your choice. With Niemi essentially on contract for the rest of the season. What are you going to do? But yeah, I'm a Stalock guy.
Yeah, good, definitely some good points there, and I think definitely a fight is a big part of that. Like, it is one of those things. Like, I remember there's a few years ago where the bigger point guard in the NBA has become the thing, and then while Stephen Curry is big relative, like it's not always about your size; it's about your skill. There's more to it than just your physical attributes. But we're blocking out Eric and Gentry here, so what are you guys thinking?
The other thing, too, is that if you decide to go with Niemi long term, you move Stalock at the deadline, and that becomes
But who's in the market for a backup goaltender?
Well, who says, he's a backup goaltender? Look at.
Well, right now, Tom McClellan's saying that.
Well, look at Devin.
Well, he might have trade value as a starter, though. I mean, look at Corey Schneider and Roberto Luongo, which they always misplayed that. but they probably very well could have turned Snyder into a serious acquisition to play, as another guy who could play in front of Luongo and maybe get them that cup.
But you look at like a team like the New York Rangers right now, who wants some insurance in the back of goaltender spot. They know they probably can't afford to get Nemo right now. They know Stalock is more proven than maybe Talbot is. I mean, you could look at it that way. You could get a steal from them because of their desperation to have a strong goaltender going into playoffs. And yes, Stalock only has one playoff start. Other than that, he had some mop-up action. But you have that opportunity. Do you go with it and risk going after and risk losing Niemi and then you're back down to just Grosnick? I doubt it, but I mean, you got to do something. You either got to re-up Nemo, or you take the chance of losing him, and then you're going to just let him run for nothing.
No, I totally agree. I mean, maybe there's a deal to be worked out with, say, a team like Florida. I mean, Luongo is getting kind of long in the tooth, and although his contract is until he is I think about 77. That's how long he's being paid for. But maybe there's a case to look at a Florida team or who knows. Either way, there's always a deal to be made, and when you've got the bottom line is this is Nemo's last season. What are you going to do? And I guess we'll find out either in 2.5 weeks or sometime in the off season at the free agent frenzy day. We did have another question on Twitter, which was and another question that I think we've debated ad nauseum, but let's do it again because it's fun. As it stands today, are the Sharks a playoff team? And I said it today on Ted Ramey. I called into Ted Ramey today, and I said it today. I think this is the first season in quite some time, and over a decade, this is going to be the season that they miss the playoffs. If you look at it now, they've fallen down to 8th, and they're holding on to it by just a couple of points.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, you can't hold back. It's obvious that they want us fans want a playoff team because tonight's attendance was below 17,000, and I think Curtis Pichella tweeted it out. It's the smallest attendance for a Sharks game since 2006. When you start losing and you're getting frustrated about what's gone on in the last year or so, you need to kind of start thinking about, okay, guys, what are we doing here? We're now losing attendance. We are kind of getting stagnant. We aren't improving, but we're going to go with the youth. And I was talking to SJ Sharkbite on Twitter, and he was asking me what we had talked about on the last episode. Is the Stadium Series game more important for the Sharks right now than anything else? And I say yes, because if they were to lose that game, and we'll say they lose badly, how rough is it going to be on the organization that they put on this grand showcase and they lose to the team that they lost in the playoffs by like 2 or 3 goals? It's impossible for them to do that. They have to win this game, let alone get into the playoffs, because they need it for their business aspect.
Well, yeah, but does it really matter to their business aspect? We're talking. What was your big thing? What was your big move in the offseason? You signed John Scott. What was your bigger move that alienated fans even more than no, nothing alienated fans more than losing a 3-0 lead. But what was right up there was letting Drew Remenda go, your most beloved guy, and was somebody who everybody loved. There was nobody could say a bad word about that guy. Everybody loved him. Everybody loved the truth he brought. And maybe that was the case. You want to go tinfoil hat right now. Maybe that's the case that Tortora and Wilson and company knew that this season was going to be kind of the start of the slide for a little bit. Let's get rid of the one guy who will actually call us out on it,
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was a case of take the hit now earlier. As far as their business aspect goes, my understanding of like from the numbers is they are kind of built on a budgetary structure where they expect the revenue of at least one round of playoffs, which I would question, like, are you actually building your budget structure realistically then? That's what I would say. And also, I don't know if this is just the Sharks or if it's the whole Sharks entertainment and all that. That includes all the various concerts that happen in SAP. But I think they should be careful here that their structure is actually built realistically, because I think we might be having some not so great seasons upcoming unless they can kind of start turning the corner again. Because it's definitely, there's no question at this point, they're on a downward slide. They're not. I don't think they're a playoff team at this point. Like I think they're kind of in that zone between an 8 seed and a 9 seed. They might make the playoffs. They might be lucky to make the playoffs, or they might just miss.
Well, not only on a downward slide, the schedule makers aren't doing you any favors in the month of March with that big swing back east.
Yeah. Well,
No,
I mean, okay, we're always going to have long swings though out east, and I think actually that's what the Sharks will want though. Is if like not we're just talking like Midwest, but you're talking like pure Eastern trips. The Sharks are going to want the schedule makers to schedule like 5 in a row, up the Florida coast and then into New York and all that. I think that's not just a schedule. I agree that there are some really funky schedule shit going on with them, but I think that you do want to get a lot of those games out in a big block.
yeah, I mean the scheduling is it's always a little skeptical when you see it.
No, I mean I'll take that road trip if it's
Right.
early in the season. If it I got no problem doing the East Coast swing early in the season, trying to get a lot of that travel out of the way, because just several other fans have brought this up that it's very agitating that you get past. Say, I think there was a couple times where like Pittsburgh got to Valentine's Day, and after Valentine's Day, they never left their own time zone, which I thought was like, how do you can we look for a little bit of trying to even it all out? One of the perfect things they mentioned tonight that Randy talked about was this is a 4-game road trip for Washington. Only 4 games, which seems kind of odd, but somehow the schedule makers are able to make it so that they face LA on Friday and Anaheim on Saturday or whatever, or Saturday. Either way, they're playing back-to-back games, LA and Anaheim. But for some reason, the Sharks never get that benefit, even though they're the team that every season travels the most miles. Someone has to figure that out in the front office.
Yeah, I agree. There's obviously, I mean, I understand it makes sense to kind of separate them a little bit. However, the team's been around. Let's see, Anaheim has been around 21 years now, and it's only once or twice where the Sharks have played LA and Anaheim on the same road trip. Oh, but wait a minute, guys, we had one this year. It was separated by 5 days during the Christmas holiday break.
Yeah, that doesn't count to me. I'm talking a true back-to-back. If you're gonna have, I'm talking a true back-to-back. Play LA one night, play Anaheim the following night or previous night.
Right. To quick point on the goaltending heights, we talked about that earlier. How there's big ones. J.P. Anderson, who's in the minor league system for the Sharks, he's only 5'11". Troy Grosnick is 6'1". Those are the 2 guys that are be up and coming if Nemo or Stalock were to go down or get traded or something. So if you're going for the big goaltender,
well, here's
there was one ad in, I think it was like Keystone years ago, or was it this big guy, and he just stuck his butt inside the net to cause, there to be no holes in there. And I'm thinking, and I say this in jest, of course, why not try that? Why not get a big guy, get like Joe Staley from the Niners or something, and stuff them in the goaltending pads, because the 7-hole is going to be like this big.
Well, have you ever seen the sports science where they tested that idea, where it's like, what if you just got a insanely big goaltender? And they actually did that. Well, probably a tangent for another time, but to your point about the size of the guys in our system, I guess I'd question, well, two things. One is the assumption of the people says it's becoming a bigger man's game. Are those actually backed up by facts? I would actually need to spend some time researching that because, people have opinions. They aren't always based on actual solid objective data. And then the second thing would be maybe if it is based on actual objective data and ideas, are we missing the boat on where the goaltender position is going? And given our history of drafting defensemen and being largely unable to, I would question, like, are we, because I think our biggest strength is goaltending. Like, our best goaltenders that we've had over the years have either been, I think, more towards our goaltending coach or towards a good free agency pickup. So go ahead, AJ.
Well, no, that was the point that I was just about to make is Nemo. Everybody talks about, well, Nemo's got the ring. Nemo's got the ring. We've all heard it ad nauseum, especially from the Sharks front office. But the problem is, what the Sharks don't have? The Sharks don't have Keith and Seabrook and Hammer and Campbell. We don't. Well, I shouldn't say we. The Sharks, they don't have that all-star type defense that you need. Have we won since Vlasic's been out? No, of course not. And that's your Studley, that's your number one guy. How is it that the Sharks don't have another? You should always. I just go back to previous teams that have won it, and it seems like most teams have always had the two kind of studs, that top shutdown guy and that top offensive guy, and the Sharks don't have that and really have never had that. We talked about it before. When was the last time the Sharks sent a defenseman that they drafted to an all-star game? Now, obviously, you can't talk. Vlasic, you point out the Olympics, but still, over the course of 25 years, let's just talk about the last 10 years. Under Doug Wilson's oversight, it's been Vlasic, and that's it. He's had a terrible history of drafting defensemen. They have to fix it. That's the only way that you have to help out your goalie. And if you've got Swiss cheese in front of them, what do you expect?
Yeah, I believe the only Sharks All-Star that was originally selected by the team was Ozolinch in '94 that went to the All-Star game. Another point, and Gentry, you can touch on it while I'm driving, guys, so I'll be talking to you, but I'm driving home. Anyways, go ahead. What you're
Could you hold the mic a little closer to him while he's talking? Because they're having a hard time hearing.
Well, my thing about this was that with the whole drafting, was somebody else brought up that point was that, Nemo has the ring, but it's Neuvirth could have been the goaltender for the Chicago Blackhawks that year and won the cup with them.
Shout out to the Christina XOX with that comment on Twitter, because that one was rocking.
That's spot on, and because we followed the trend in 2010 2011 when we acquired Nemo. In the offseason, when we signed him as a free agent, what did we do? We were following the trend that no longer was this going to be the league of the super overpaid goaltending. They were going to get younger, they were going to get faster, they were going to be able to go from side to side along, and we were following that trend, and then we just saw, this guy beat us handedly in the Western Conference Final. Let us secure this goalie and get rid of Nabokov, it was the changing of the guard. And what has that done for us? Yes, we made the Western Conference Final that second year in a row, but what happened? We didn't get hot, and we lost to the Vancouver Canucks. So We follow the trends, and then the trends change, and then we keep going after them. Why don't we?
Yeah, you have to blaze a trail. I totally get what you're saying. How long had we heard from either whether it was Lombardi or Wilson that they were either trying to map themselves the way that the Red Wings were, and then there was a little while where they were trying to map themselves as the New Jersey Devils.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, come on, guys, blaze your own trail. Stop being a follower. It's, as we've talked about so many times, I think we're about to, the next 2 weeks are pivotal. If they claw their way back into the top three in the Pacific, then I don't think we see any some sort of severe acquisition. But if they're out of the playoffs come the trade deadline, it would not surprise me to see a key piece moved and they raise the white flag. The fans, as you can tell by the lowest attendance in almost a decade tonight, a lot of the fans.
16,956.
Yeah.
Wow. It was, even with the
you got the Nabby. Although let's be honest, a lot of people didn't know about that until just a couple days ago. But then again, tickets were to be had for $15 on StubHub tonight. So that, plus you've got the Great Eight in the house, the Nabby puck drop and tribute to him. So to have their worst attendance, and granted, we're only talking, it's the announced attendance is 16. Well, I'm sorry, what did you say it was, Eric?
16,956.
So we're just short of 17K, and a sellout there is 17,562. So, you're only talking 600 tickets, quote unquote. But today, and I've never seen this. I don't know how long I've been on Twitter. Today, S.J. Sharkey he tweeted out, sending back a photo, and they gave out 20 pairs of tickets just on Twitter alone.
Yeah, that's how we went tonight, Jim.
Yeah.
We won that contest.
Oh, congratulations.
Free tickets.
Thank you.
So as far as that goes, to me, like I think I said this the other night, like I think that was just terrible planning on the part of the Sharks. Like I mean, like I bet you an IPA, and I owe you it now, AJ, because I was like, yeah, the Sharks got to have more business sense than that. Like, I get that you had a press conference on Wednesday, but if you're smart, build up Nabby night for anywhere from a few days to a week or more.
Why not have
Make
it on
sure
Sunday
people are aware
against
of
Tampa Bay?
Or put it on the weekend, something or against a former team or anything like that. Like, there's so many opportunities there, but like the business sense just seems lacking. Whereas like the opportunity was there to really and try to make money off of this. As if you're thinking just from a pure money standpoint, they failed themselves.
So correct me if I'm wrong. That game on Sunday's the last one at home before the Stadium Series, right?
I believe so. So you've got it's the whole thing is that you gave the fans no time to you didn't do any build up or any hype for it. You gave the fans next to no warning. You did it in the middle of the week when the Sunday was a prime opportunity because it's against first off, it's on a weekend. It gives you 5 days to build it up, and it's against the team that you just made the deal with, his former team. So how do you not pull that off? The way this comes across to me is that it was a case of, this is a quick win, but let's just get it over with and just go on.
Yeah. It essentially comes out to that. Drag it on. Get like you said, AJ, get the T-shirts out. I mean, I'm sure they still had some Nabby shirts, or they can quickly get them printed up. I mean, it could have been done a lot better. But granted, if they wanted to get this over and done quickly so it doesn't lag on and distract from anything, but it's a great opportunity to let them get ready for probably the biggest regular season week in franchise history.
And you could have used that as a springboard too. And you know what?
Exactly.
And somebody brings up in the chat room, which is very, I don't know. It's just I wholeheartedly agree. Is the fact that to me this is another thing that kind of this is another screw up that falls on Toro's watch. The fact that they kind of treated Nabby as like, you did the press conference and everything like that. You should have had that build-up to have him do it during the Tampa Bay game when you can really spend a little time focusing on it, and instead we're talking about a player that had already been gone by the time Tatora got here. Maybe he didn't understand the impact Navi had on the organization, but that just seems like a total brain fart and just another mark to chalk up under Tatora under list of things you've gotten wrong so far, because man, it's getting to be quite a long list.
Chalk it up under not getting it, and I thought he was supposed to be the business sense. Like, I was, in college, I was a business major. Like, I don't think you have to even be a business major to see the right way they should have played this stuff.
Not at all.
Just from
Nabi
a pure
shirts?
money standpoint.
How many Nabi shirts would have sold this Sunday?
Oh, there were
Well,
a ton of shirts out there tonight. I mean, all over the place. Even our friend Jackie broke out her old one, that was all faded and, all the printing was cracked. I mean, they could have made a boatload, and maybe they still can, now that it's gone. But, and let's be honest, too. They are hosting the Stadium Series. I'm sure that they're all maxed out on getting all that ready and everything. That's all the NHL's part
And
of getting that all set up at Levi's.
You just brought up a great point. How huge would it have been for Nabi to drop the ceremonial first puck at Levi's? That place would have went batshit crazy. You want to talk about a completely blown opportunity. I mean, look at my hat, for Christ's sakes. I've been rocking this all day. I don't understand how you blow that. You blow
have a Toscala hat?
No, it's a Nabokov.
No, dude. He wore 35 first, man.
So I mean, I think we've pretty well reiterated a couple times here. Just not anywhere from a fan decision to a business decision. It just seems like, what were they thinking with it, like how they handled this?
Oh, I agree. The only reason why I wanted to go to the game tonight was because it was like the last minute, the contest happened, and I was like, oh well, if the Bakov's gonna drop the first puck, I want to be there because I want to be able to, chant Nabi one more time, like to the top of my lungs. But if it wasn't for that, I would have not have cared about tonight's game. But if you were able to have that build up on Sunday, have it against the Tampa Bay, you could have used that, and as you guys have pointed out, saying that you could have used that as a launching pad. It's like, this is the week of the Stadium Series. Let us get everything into high gear, have Nabi, then you go on your road trip, and then you have, and then you come back stronger, with all the hype surrounding it. But this was like last minute, thought process. This was piss poor planning on their part, and that is the aggravating part, is that Navi deserved better than what was provided today. This should have been more of an event of Navi coming back to the Sharks.
Yeah, we should give them their proper credit, though, that they were willing to do the whole deal where they traded for Nabi, let him retire a Shark. Because they do deserve some credit for that, but kind of moving on to a little bit here on the Navi, still on the Navi subject, but since you guys were there, it came through on TV somewhat, but how was the reaction for when Navi dropped the ceremonial puck? What say you guys?
Oh, the place was going nuts. I mean, the chance for Nabi was going crazy. Although, when Danny Miller was talking over it, so you couldn't hear it too much. However, the place was going nuts, and I was hoping that the Sharks would feed on the momentum, and they kind of did early on. But yeah, the place was.
No, you can, and it was like nostalgia. It was like seeing an old friend. Like, where have you been? You've been gone for a bit, but like, welcome home. Like that. It felt like, and it kind of felt like, I gotten used to like being younger and chanting for Nabi, that like when I saw I think it was like Nemo making a good save. I wanted to go, oh, what a save from Naby. Oh, wait.
But and also the other point here too is Naby is so loved across all kinds of generations in San Jose, which begs me to ask you this question: does Nemo get treated less than or not as touted because he's Nabokov's replacement?
I think he
Well,
definitely does not get some of the. I think he's been a very damn good goaltender. Not great, but good. And it probably is part of replacing Naby that he was never going to live up to that unless he won a Stanley Cup.
as a major Nabokov fan, yep, that's that. I fall under that category. But we do have a couple questions on the Twitter machine. Or I should say comments actually. One of which I think is hysterical, by the way. Actually, they're both really funny. The first one comes from Daryl that says, we're talking about the whole how they've screwed the pooch on Nabokov night. This guy says, how about Fire Tatora night? Fans bring paper bags or T-shirts that say Fire John Tatora. I think that is brilliant. I wholeheartedly support that. If you want to set that up and start printing up the bags of the shirts, let me know. I'll be the first one to buy one. And our other comment from Nedich, he says, and now take into account the luck that the Sharks ran into tonight with regards to the officiating, everything like that. And he says, it's the over-under. Something goes terribly wrong at the Stadium Series. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if some sort of screw-up happens. It's not like Levi's is known to be a real lucky place these days.
Well,
But it wouldn't surprise me. Well, yeah, that. But it wouldn't surprise me if it rains.
The thing is this, and we might lose you because we're going on the single grade, but the forecast, the long-range forecast right now, is showing decent rain on the night of the Stadium Series game. And what a nightmare that would be for the Sharks, because it would be the only time that they would have to move to another day.
And that would be something that went terribly wrong.
Right, and the league would be, and the Sharks, and the whole halo effect, which is what, Tatora's after, with expanding the exposure of the team. That's probably the worst case scenario. The light rain, when talking to Dan Craig earlier in the week, he said that should be no problem. They can freeze those sprinkles or the showers no matter what. It's the constant driving rain that could kill it, and that's the worst case scenario for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, but they do have the option. I've already heard that if it does rain, they do have the option to push it out to the day after. Although, boy, that I'm sure that would make everybody at NBC real happy, depending on what's already scheduled there.
See, is if it rains on Saturday to the point where the rink is unable to skate on, they push it to Sunday. If Sunday's a rain out, then it goes back to the tank, I believe, on Monday.
Wow.
And that'd probably be the worst case scenario, because I don't know how they would divvy up the tickets for that. Plus, that's millions of dollars lost, and that they would have to refund back everybody for the game.
Oh, there's the refunds they have to do with it. Not to mention what you're talking about with the ticketing. They would almost essentially have to, if once they knew that they were going to have to move it to the tank to Monday night, they would essentially just have to put that ticket or that game on sale right then and there. Aside from the season ticket holders, you'd have to just basically refund everybody who bought individual tickets and just put it as a completely separate game or something. You can't go from 69,000 fans to 17,562. It just doesn't work.
In the catch too is that I have another reporter coming over. He's staying the night. He's flying from Toronto. He comes in Friday. He's leaving Sunday. If the game gets delayed, he's flying back during the game. He'll get the view of the field and the rink as he's leaving if it goes to Sunday.
And how many LA fans are coming up And
There's a bunch of LA fans coming.
right?
Fuck them.
Yeah, they
Fuck
do.
'em. Fuck all of them.
Spirit Crest.
You think they want to? You think they want to be stuck here for another day to watch a game and maybe go home, miss a day of work, or deal with the traffic nightmares? Who knows?
Oh darn! They get to stay in
Yeah,
the
I
Bay
know.
an extra day, and then they have
All
to miss out on an extra day of LA hell.
All right.
Easy choice, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's get back into the game.
Yeah, a comment from L. Bryan here. He thinks it'd be hilarious if it got delayed, and I tend to agree. It would probably be.
It would be
delayed.
fitting.
It would be all of the lulls. So let's direct this away from the stadium game a bit and come back to
tonight.
kind of our present situation. We already said, like, do you think these guys are a playoff team? The question I would ask is it better for them to make the playoffs or not? What do you think? What do you think, AJ?
Whoa. Is it better for them to make the playoffs?
We're talking long term here.
Yeah, no, that's that. It's really hard to say whether yay or nay, because I think it's a case of if they do make the playoffs, then I feel like, well, everybody gets another year. It's like Doug Wilson gets another year, Thornton and maybe Niemi gets an extension, but Thornton and Marlowe have no trade clauses. They have 2 more years after this. So essentially, to me, what it means is no significant change. Now, if they do miss the playoffs, then what is it a case of? Because remember, Wilson's been talking about this plan now for a couple. That when he talked about it last year, he said it had kind of started with the trades of Murray and Clough. So how far are we getting?
Which were great trades.
Which were,
compared to Wilson.
No,
those trades.
Those were great moves. Those were the anti-Jamie McGinn moves. But getting back to your question, honestly, that's really hard to answer. I feel like I think it's if they miss the playoffs, I almost feel like that's the better solution at this point, because that's the only way we're going to see anything change. Unless there's something catastrophic, we're going to get the status quo. And as you can see and we've talked about this prior, that the attendance is also going down every game.
That's the big risk, and I think Chester Tivo just mentioned that too. That's a big risk to take if you're going to go and miss the playoffs, because you can tell you've lost 4 out of 5, and you're already slipping attendance. You have to win, and unfortunately, you have to blame the turnaround team in 93-94 for that. Ever since they've been in San Jose, they've always had a winner, and winner in meaning that they've made the playoffs. I think they've only missed like 3 of the years that the Sharks have been in San Jose after moving to the Cow Palace. They've missed the playoffs in their 21-year history at the Shark Tank.
Yeah, no, they've always been the ones that are first to disappoint us in the playoffs, but they do it every year. But McClellan, God love him, that's the other case. Is I believe if they miss the playoffs, and McClellan was stated tonight on the Sharks postgame, is that he's saying if we continue to get that from everybody, what they got tonight, that they feel like they're going in the right direction. But okay, that's a great thing to say, but didn't you call these guys out just a couple weeks ago, and that got everybody on the same page for a couple games, and then bam, we're back into this where it's still completely inconsistent? But if they miss the playoffs this year, I think it's completely predictable that McClellan will be on the hook for it, because you're not going to trade Thornton, you're not going to trade Marlowe, so McClellan will take the hit.
Yeah.
Well, I think, though, we all agreed, though, that they deserved to win tonight, and I think that if they had more efforts like tonight in general, they would probably be on track. here's one I thought though about if they just barely made the playoffs. Like, I think they would probably be better off missing the playoffs in some ways because it would probably start to really push the rebuild forward. But if they just barely made the playoffs, they'd likely be playing the number one team in the conference, Anaheim. And is there one team that has cured our ills all season, it is Anaheim. Just throwing that out there.
We also had we dominate them in 08-09, and fortunately we saw what happened with that.
However,
Yeah, but no. The case with Anaheim, that's not guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination, right? Because at this point, if they get in, they're sneaking in as a wild card. There's a very good chance they could end up playing Nashville or St. Louis.
I'm just saying in the case that they got in and they were the A seed and Anaheim was the one. I'm not saying in any scenario where they just barely snuck in.
Oh,
but if they barely snuck in, there's a high probability Anaheim could be the first guy up. And, there's no guarantees. Past history is not a guarantee either. But they might advance around just on the merits of playing Anaheim because, and also, I mean, let's not dance around it. Honestly, Anaheim, the only reason why no one's giving them shit similar to the Sharks is they won a cup that one year. They've had a lot of big disappointments lately. Like, I know a few Ducks fans. And they've said very clear, like, although I think every team fan is spoiled, because I know plenty of Patriots fans who moan and whine about their team, but plenty of Ducks fans have told me, man, they have a lot of disappointing playoff runs. They have a great season, and then they just flounder in the first round or barely make the second round and die. So.
Well, it's the scenario like the Sharks, where especially with Ron Wilson at the time and early on with Todd, it's like they make it the first round, or they lose in the first round, or they lose in 6 in the second round, and it's same old Sharks. Yeah, it's literally like that. And in fact, I think Bruce Boudreau hasn't even made the playoff, hasn't even gone past the second round in his NHL coaching tenure. But they don't get any crap because they won their cup in 2007.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that's the thing. The Ducks won a cup in 2007. The Kings have won their cup in 2012, 2014. Hell, for that matter, you can even say the Canucks made the cup final in 2011 and 1994. They still have more to say because they've been there. And that's the problem. Getting back to the drive. It's the drive and the passion. And they need to have that every game. They can't just get up for big opponents. They have to play everybody like it's a big opponent. They have to play it even like a playoff game because business is at stake too. They miss the playoffs, that's less revenue coming into the team. That's less revenue that they don't have to play with. And with the minor league team coming into town, sure, they get an extra boost for 30-some-odd home dates. However, you run the risk of having more people go to your AHL game and less to your NHL team because the tickets are cheaper.
Yeah. So I think we probably need to wrap up pretty soon here because we're getting right around midnight. So we have a 4-game road swing coming up next. We have Sharks Coyotes on Friday. That'll be a fun one, no doubt. 6 p.m. That's not good. No, that's good. Yeah, I'm sure clarity. Yeah, I have to throw that in there. But so we have Sharks Coyotes, Lightning at Sharks. I mean, kind of the Lightning game thrown in the middle of a road trip here. We have Sharks at Predators and then Sharks at Stars. So 3 out of 4 on the road. And I think, other than the Predators, that's a lot of winnable games right there. And even the Predators, like I haven't seen enough of them this season to know just if they are really as good as their record says. But let's go with some predictions here. What are you guys thinking on this upcoming road or kind of like semi-road swing here?
I say, I say that the Sharks win against the Coyotes. They barely muster a win against the
Stars.
the Stars, and then they lose against the Predators. So
Okay.
I'm
What do you
kind
think?
of
What are you thinking, AJ?
Well, my whole thing is, if you remember, I think it was on the last time we did it when we did predictions. Coming in, we had Calgary and Washington on the docket, and I said that I was Mr. Optimist that day. I said they're going to go 2-0, and they went 0-2. So for these 4 games you've mentioned, I'm predicting 0-4. So hopefully I still have that same power.
Pessimist Prime strikes again.
That's right.
I would say the same thing with Gentry. I think they win in Arizona. They lose a tough one in Nashville. They probably win. I predict they win, although I could see them losing in overtime. And then it's a quick flight back home because they have their practice at Levi Stadium at 3:30 on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, so for that, I think my prediction, I'm going to say win against the Coyotes, win against the Lightning. I know I'm being very optimistic here. Lose outright to the Predators and lose outright to the Stars. So I'm going to go 2-2-0 for this trip leading into the big face-off with the Kings. And I think we'll definitely, I don't think we have a definite plan yet. Probably Sunday after the Lightning game, we'll probably have a Pucknology after dark. But we'll definitely have to do predictions on the next show for February 21st against the Kings at Levi Stadium.
All right. Final question. How many more non-sellouts before we see anything different?
What do you mean by something different? That's what I asked.
But under the Totora era, like at this point, I'm expecting it to be like I don't know, if they go like 5 more without selling out, then like maybe Totora opens up like an adults only area where like the ice girls serve you drinks topless or something. I mean, this is like they're gonna have to do something to drum up business, because one of the things that Eric mentioned, which I thought was a great point, was he was bringing up Vancouver. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and I guess we can get into it on the next one since we're kind of wrapping things up, but just think about it, is in 2011, Vancouver, just before 2011, but the 2011 playoffs cemented it. Vancouver, you ask just about any hockey fan today, Vancouver, what are they known for? Diving. They are known for, they are called the Dives. Colorado, it seemed for a while, had that moniker, but Vancouver ripped it right out of there. Every fan I know hates Vancouver for the diving thing, but at this point, what do the Sharks have to do? Because clearly over the last 5 years, they have really cemented their label as the choker.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately,
how do you shake that?
It's not a fun thing to do because it's constantly reminded. It's not just here. I gotta turn on the light because I'm gonna go off now. It's constantly reminded of being a choke job, no matter if it's in the regular season or the playoffs or whatnot. Because you have the hockey media jumping on the you have fans of other teams jumping on it. Hell, you even have some of the fans of our own saying choke chop. Hell, there was even a comment made by IceJerseys.com the day of Game 7. And basically it was a picture of Joe Pavelski with the Buffalo Bills helmet on. Saying, are you ready to see the Sharks finally finish off their ultimate choke job? And I basically blocked him and I said, wow, way to sell your business there to Sharks fans. I mean, come on. Really? You really want to have it? If anything, besides seeing the Sharks, or besides seeing the Ducks and the Kings raise cup banners right in your own backyard, you would think that after losing to the Kings last year, it should have pissed them off to the point where they want to prove people wrong. And right now, you're sitting at 28, 20, and 8. and you're essentially a 500 hockey team. And you wonder why people aren't coming to the games? Because that's your response to one of your most embarrassing moments.
And I'm going to be real interested to see where the ticket, if the Sharks, for some reason, say go 0-4 over the next 4 leading into the Stadium Series game, or go 1-3 and look like crap, and maybe they get a lucky win or something. I'm going to be real interested to see where the ticket prices are on StubHub the day before the Stadium Series game, because right now this is all I got, man. I don't have a ticket in hand. I got this.
Price of the Stadium Series will not go down no matter what happens. I think
they've already gone.
They're going nowhere but up.
I've already seen them go down.
I'm talking at this point, like from here on out. I don't think they're going anywhere but up. This close to it. I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, let's wrap it up here, guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, so real quick. So we have 11 home games left on the schedule. Just give me a number. How many of those are sellouts out of 11? AJ?
Does that include the Stadium Series?
Yes.
Boy, it's hard to say without the schedule in front of me. I know like one is Arizona, and I know that probably won't do well. Honestly, then I'm out of 11. I guess I'm going to go with 4. I'm going to say the Stadium Series, Fan Appreciation. There was another game that I had in mind that I thought would be a sellout, so I'm just going to go with 4 out of 11.
Okay. Gentry and Eric, what do you think?
I'm also going to go with 4. Definitely the Stadium Series and Fan Appreciation Night. But unless Torre and everybody pulls a gimmick out of their ass to salvage some, salvage the rest of the season, I don't think it's going to be a huge push towards the playoffs in terms of getting the ticket sales up. So I'm just going to say 4 out of 11. Eric?
I'll be the optimist, of course, and say that they'll have 6. Remember, one of those games is Pittsburgh, where we get to see, we are Pittsburgh, we are Pittsburgh, mighty, mighty Pittsburgh, mighty, mighty Pittsburgh.
I don't think it's a case. I don't. At this point, I really don't think that who the team is playing means anything. You had Washington tonight. There's been a couple other games with quote unquote marquee names or marquee matchups and they didn't sell out. So I don't think that the matchup has anything to do with it at this point. I think fans are just pissed off and are finding better things to do.
I tend to think matchup has less to do with it, but I also think the fact that we've had some non-sellouts on Saturdays, like as a former season ticket holder, I'm pretty familiar with the patterns of like when tickets sell well and when they don't. The fact that we've had several on weekends, to me, is a big indicator of the overall trend. But for me, I'm gonna go ahead and, since you fuckers took 6, I'm gonna go ahead and go with 5. I'll say 5 for the rest of the season. So we have AJ with 4, Gentry with 4, and Eric with 6, and then I'll go with 5. I'm like the asshole who takes $1 on the Price is Right. So there is no. So if you go over, you lose. So anyways, I think it's about time we wrap up here. It's a little after midnight on Pucknology After Dark, so we are way after dark, as inside all this stuff. So wrapping things up, Sharks lose in overtime, 5-4 against the Washington Capitals, with a lot of bullshit going on there. Yeah. And this is Chris. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisJWS, here with AJ_Strong on Twitter, PuckGuy14, also known as Eric, and Gentry. Go ahead and give your Twitter handle.
JAlexander46 on Twitter.
Okay, yeah. From all of us, thank you for watching. We definitely appreciate it. You can find us on this YouTube channel quite often. We try and put this out in advance. We try and schedule these things as much as we can. We're going to try to be here on Sunday. Subscribe to this channel to follow us on Twitter. we'll probably follow you back because we're all about the Sharks fam. So I'm just gonna go ahead and wish you all good night and peace the puck out.